Please go green. And all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. You really confusing us. I am. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take a seat. Please do the roll.
Reverend Childs.
Here.
Ms. Collins.
Here.
Reverend Costin.
Yeah.
Ms. Guido is absent. Dr. Jacobowitz. Ms. Rao.
Here.
Mr. Michael.
Here.
Mr. Childs is not here. Ms. Shear.
Here. Okay, we have no district happenings. This is one item agenda to discuss the budget. And we've foregone the executive session. So we're going to open it up to public participation. If there's anyone who would like to address the board at this point. Looks like, other than Mr. Kendall, everybody's a trustee or a district employee. All right, so we'll move right into the superintendent's report.
I'm going to just give the floor to Ms. Heidecker. She wants to make a quick announcement.
Just a little quick announcement. Tonight, thanks to the tech department, that was good timing, and their support, we're changing our streaming platform, and we're now streaming through YouTube. It's very reliable, and it's compatible with pretty much all handheld and home devices, so that people can access it from anywhere. We piloted this with our budget forum, and I talked to one of my colleagues who watched the budget forum from her iPhone at CrossFit class, so it definitely works, and we're doing that tonight. And I wanted to make a quick announcement inviting the community to our rescheduled online YouTube forum, which will be on Tuesday, April 12th, broadcasted from the KHSCD studios, but you can just log on to the website, type in your comments, or contact us through Twitter at CSD. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to stand just to go through the quick presentation, but then when discussion starts, I will come back and sit down. Good evening, everyone. As the board has received most of this information, I do just want to go through it to be able to answer some questions and then obviously open up for a larger discussion with the Board of Education. So what I'm presenting is the 2016-17 school district budget, the proposal. Really, this is the proposal coming forth through the administration and through our previous goals set by the Board of Education. As always, our budget goal is to balance the needs of our students with our community's values and their ability to pay. That's the umbrella that we use, the hope that we are under the entire time we're doing our budget process and how we're putting our plans together as far as how we spend money and how we program here in Kingston City School District. First thing, the chart that you're very familiar with, it looks sometimes it's different colors, but this is what we've been showing for the last month and actually about the last 4 years. It's a very similar chart to show you where we are with our budget and with our tax levy. And you'll see now with the budget finalized in Albany, we have a real grasp on what our revenues are. And as you can see, we've gone through a few different iterations of this, but if you look at our final budget from 15-16, to our 2016-17 budget as far as the revenues, this is the piece that really is not going to change, regardless of what we do here tonight. There is an increase. We have a change of about $3.1 million, and then the total percentage increase in those revenues is just over almost 5.5%. Using that new number, obviously the total appropriations has changed over the time that we've been presenting. Obviously, we received an increase in aid more than what we had expected through the previous presentations. You all know that the governor's proposal had a $139,000 increase in foundation aid, it had a $250,000 community schools aid, and it also had a half of the GEA reinstated. The budget that was passed had the foundation aid was more like $1.2 million increase. The $250,000 community schools money was eliminated. Again, I believe it's probably rolled into the foundation aid, and that the entire GEA was restored. and that's where this number comes from. So we were pleasantly surprised with the increase in foundation aid, and we had, as we had talked about through the other forms, we had pretty much expected the GEA to be fully restored, but even though we did not get that information necessarily. Balance on our tax levy, as you can see, just this calculation, this leaves us with a tax levy of over $100 million that we need to collect in order to reach what we have proposed as our tax levy. As you can see, the tax levy that we are recommending here at this, or proposing at this point, is a 1.98% tax levy, just below 2%. But we all know our maximum tax allowable levy is here at 3.37%. So we are significantly below the tax levy limit. You see here is our number of about $1.3 million below our tax levy limit that is set by law and by our tax levy calculation. That keeps our district, that does several things. Obviously keeps us below the tax levy limit, but it also makes this budget STAR eligible under New York State law, which means, as has been the case for the last 2 years, about 53% of the taxpayers in the Kingston City School District are STAR eligible, and they've received no increase in their school taxes in the last 2 years, and would not receive an increase in their school taxes this year under this budget, as long as we stay below the tax levy limit. Some of the proposal highlights that I've sent out to you that we have put into this budget. In many other years, we've talked about things we were cutting from the budget. The last couple of years, we've been lucky enough to be able to talk about things we were able to add to the budget, or at least maintain in the budget. One of the things I think is not on any of the slides, I think is an important thing to say, this budget contains no layoffs. So there are no layoffs, there are no cuts to program, no cuts to sports, arts, music, academics, after schools, advanced classes at the high school, college courses, those kind of things, are AP classes. There are no cuts to any of those. And again, I think it's important to continue to talk about things. There are no personnel changes, no personnel cuts, no layoffs. So what we try to do is really to avoid initiative overload. We talked a lot about the things that we needed to do, and we're seeing the results of the work that we've done. So we really wanted to use the portions of this new money that we had to do a couple of things. First thing was to shore up our initiatives. And as you can see here, the things that we committed to last year: smaller class sizes in K through 2, continuing with our instructional coaches, continuing with our inclusion model and enhancing our support for our students with disabilities, having strong support for our buildings and grounds. We spoke a lot of times, I call it our rejuvenation and renovation program, which will continue. Investments in our safety and prevention department. Social and emotional learning support at all levels. We started last year with additional social workers and psychologists. As you'll see soon, we're going to ask for more support in that area. And support for the cohort model at Kingston High School. Last year, we added a few positions to allow there to be a cohort model beyond the 9th grade academy in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. We want to continue to support that with the request that we had from Mr. Reinhardt and his team. Some proposed enhancements. Again, these are the additions. Keep with our idea about what was our. I talked to everyone a lot about graduation rate. We looked at our subgroups and talked about this last year. The subgroup where we seem to be struggling the most, the subgroup where we need to put more of our efforts and more of our focus, I should say, is our students with disabilities. We saw a tremendous increase in all of our subgroups, but we're not seeing that in our students with disabilities. So we've been analyzing our program and looking and seeing what are the things that we need to do to really reach those students. And one of the things we looked at was the idea of really being able to, what we become with the instructional coaches and the assistant directors in the regular ed classrooms, getting into the classrooms, embedded professional development, working on curriculum, instead of working on paper, instead of sitting around here working on paper, instead of sitting in meetings, doing CSE meetings. We would like to add 2 committee for CSE chairs, they would be members of the Kingston Teachers Federation. They would take over the lion's share of the duties for doing CSE meetings, allowing our directors and our assistant directors in special education to do what we really want them to do, administer the program. We do what we want to do and help teachers and help principals to more effectively implement our special education program district-wide. We're also we were proposing an additional middle school psychologist, creating a dedicated psychologist for both of our schools. Right now, we have one shared between two. This would give us one for each building, and putting that support in our middle school areas. And as you know, I mean, our middle schools, our 5 through 8s, have been a very intense focus by the administration. And so you'll see there seems to be a lot of things in this budget that are pointed at the middle schools, and that's with good reason. Middle school social worker focused on attendance and family communication and engagement. This is really something we're looking at. We're hearing, although we're looking district-wide at our attendance rate being in the low 90s, we are seeing an increase in tardiness and absenteeism at the middle school level. We want to find out what that's all about. We want to be able to support families and help them get their kids to school. So we're proposing this position. Speech language pathologist. This is really kind of trying to serve two purposes. First, we have to meet our mandates. We have to meet our IEP needs for our students who have speech issues. And we also are looking though to push speech down into the K through 2 level. So we can really hit this early. That early intervention in speech makes all the difference in the world, and that's what we want to do, and that's what we're proposing this position. An additional special education teacher at J. Watson Bailey to continue support for our model, for our cohort model, or not, that shouldn't say cohort model, that should say for our inclusion model. So we want to continue to support that inclusion model that we put into place and really supported last year. And we've spoken about this a few times, a full-time athletic trainer to help meet the health and wellness needs of our over 1,000 student athletes and our 21 varsity teams. The concussion protocols alone that we are responsible for and should be responsible for the health and safety of our students are more than our school nurses can even keep up with. Again, with that number of students here having a full-time athletic trainer, we currently have a part-time athletic trainer. She's kind of on loan from another organization, but we'd like to make that person our employee full-time here in our buildings during the day, working with our students. Other enhancements to continue, our class size initiatives. 3 new elementary teachers. Again, our commitment to that 22 or fewer in K through 2. Looking at our enrollment, in order to do that, we think we need to add 3 new elementary teachers. 2 new middle school teachers need to be added. Really, both of those will be at JWB, which we have a slight rise in enrollment this year because of a bubble in 5th grade. And a new music teacher at the middle school. The music teacher, again, takes care of the situation with the increase in that enrollment in the middle school, because we need somewhere to put these students. We need electives for them. We need things that aren't study halls for students. And these music requirements need to be filled, and this would do that. Other proposed enhancements. Support for the Kingston High School cohort model. They would ask pros a clerical position to help them focus on data. We talk about data in the high school all the time, and I attribute a lot of the things that we've done at Kingston High School and the success that we had to our ability to grab a hold of data and pay attention to it and use it to reach our goals. They would like someone there to help them organize that data so they can do even more with it than they have. More middle school support. 2 new hall monitors, a hall monitor in each building. Right now, we have no hall monitors in either of the middle schools. So we have no one out moving around in the hall, so we'd like to add that to support our administration in the buildings. And also clerical support for our nurses. Currently, we have 1 clerical support that supports both health offices, one at Bailey, one at Middle. We'd like to add another so they can have full-time clerical support. You can imagine between the over 1,000 students at JWB and the 900 students or so at Miller, there's a lot of action going on in those nurses' offices, and they really could use that clerical support. Technology, we're looking at instructional technology coaching for our elementary level, and we think the most efficient way to do that would be to use BOCES in the model schools. We use that at the secondary level very successfully, and we'd like to increase that spending at BOCES to have them come in and work with our elementary teachers. Our ENL, we'd like to add a bilingual family worker, as well as the creation of a teacher liaison for ENL. We have teacher liaisons for many of the other areas, but we don't have any. We have none of those things for ENL, so we'd like to add that again. Our English as a new language student population is rising rapidly. Early childhood, one of the things we're looking at here is, as mentioned in our last board meeting, we quickly took a look at that and thought this is something we would like to get in here, is looking at that kindergarten academy at JFK and George Washington. Getting those students to the school building a couple of weeks early, getting them like really acquainted with the school, getting the teachers to have those conversations so they can get in and like I said, they can get in right away, start instruction immediately, instead of those few days of kind of getting to know things. So that has been also placed in the proposal. We talk about the work that we're doing in the buildings. This is just a small list, but I wanted to throw some things out there so we know this has not been forgotten. There's a detailed plan of the work that we're doing in each of the buildings. Case in high school, we need to install air conditioning units into our server rooms. Everyone knows server rooms are not allowed to get hot by the crash. We need to do that. At Bailey, we're replacing the Audion carpets. If you've been in there, you know that needs to be done. Updating the auditorium soundboards for the productions there, lights and curtains at the stage. We're installing new blinds throughout the school, and everybody here probably knows we've done a lot of experimentation with Bailey in the blinds. We experimented with the shaded stickers, or whatever you want to call them, on the windows. Those things didn't work. We were going back to the old-fashioned idea of putting blinds in there. At Chambers, we're building a dedicated space in that building for one-on-one academic support, again, helping us to make sure that we have regular-sized classrooms available for the classes, for the regular education classrooms. So we're building that. At Crosby, we've laptoped the bus circle. Anybody from Crosby? No Crosby fans here. Well, if you've been there, you know that's necessary because there's a hole there that could pretty much swallow a bus. At Edson, we're replacing water heater, we're finishing the gym floors and updating the auditorium curtains. John F. Kennedy, we have refinishing the gym floors and new furniture for the new sections. You know, if they have new sections this year, they may have another one next year. We want to make sure we have all new furniture in those classrooms for those students. At Graves, we're upgrading the water meter. That sounds very exciting. At Miller, we are replacing the front sidewalk. Some of you probably know we replaced that front sidewalk already once. We're replacing that again. And district-wide, we're installing whiteboard in specific locations. Now, what is a whiteboard? A whiteboard really is this area here. What we're doing here, we're projecting onto the wall, but the classrooms, we want to be able to project onto the whiteboard so you know, it's more interactive. Teachers can use it, they can write on it, those kind of things. And as I said, that's just kind of a preview of the things that we've added to the budget. Obviously, the budget is a very long document, and you know, we've all looked into it. Myself and Mr. Olson, as well as Ms. Woodard, will be here to answer questions. And with that, I'm going to sit down.
Questions? Mr. Shaughnessy.
What is your enrollment projection for next year?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What is the enrollment projection for next year?
I don't have my exact enrollment projection for next year. We are, you know, as you know, we've seen probably a decline of a couple of percent each year. We do. I mean, we saw, as you know, as we saw a steep drop off several years, but we've kind of, I wouldn't say we've leveled off, but we haven't seen huge decreases. But we are seeing that. And yeah, I mean, we expect it to continue. It's hard to say.
You talk about 3 new elementary school teachers.
Yes.
Are those K-2 to keep those classes smaller?
Those are in some. I think 2 of them are K2, and then one I think is a 4th grader that has a large bubble there.
And when you talk about the 2 new middle school teachers, does that include the special ed teacher at the middle school?
No, so there'd be 2 new middle school teachers, regular ed teachers, and 1 new special education teacher.
And do we have any special education teacher because of an increase in population in the special ed population that we need to?
We have a new one. So if you have a bubble in say 5th grade, say for example, coming in, if you have a bubble in 5th grade and you want to continue the inclusion model, we need another teacher to go into those classrooms where we have more, you know, now we have an inclusion class where we didn't maybe in the past.
Well, we have that this year too.
Yes, we have it in several places this year.
We need more
Yes.
support.
Mrs. Black?
You said you were adding a new middle school psychologist. Isn't there one in each building already?
There's a half, it's shared.
So there's one and a half.
There's one psychologist. She spends half her time in Miller, half her time in Bailey.
Like Miss Spear, wasn't she at middle? Jamani's a social worker.
Social worker, not psychologist.
Right, the psychologist is Miss Spear.
And that's the one we have between the two of them.
Who's Sifco?
Tip.
Is the split?
But then we have there's a Mrs. Spiro who's out there full time. Farther now, Christine Spiro.
Is a full-time psychologist.
I know her. Yes.
So we have 1.5? Yes. Okay.
So then is there one full one at Bailey also?
There is,
So we're gonna get two at each, is that one, I guess that's what I'm saying, because I know there's one full one at Miller already. So there must be one full one at, I can't believe there's not one full one at Bailey.
you know,
Miss Sifco does split between the two buildings.
So she's, okay,
and Ms. Spiro is full-time in one of the buildings. So we have 1.5. So this would increase that.
So, are you finished?
no, because I still think there has to be a full one at Bailey, there has to be, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I know that it says Ms. Sip goes back and forth, so
There has to be a full one.
I'll double check and make sure we've got our things right on that.
And then you're adding a middle school social worker focused on attendance, is that for both middle schools?
That's for both, that's a shared position.
Mrs. Collins? And then Dr. Cole.
Okay, thanks, just a couple of initial things. I'm always heartened to see that we have the funds to be able to add some things like, what's really exciting is the kindergarten academy. But just a couple of questions. The teacher liaison for the ENL, I know you said something about a family worker too. Can you just talk to that a little bit, what the duties of that position might be?
Yeah, as far as the family worker, I'm going to let Mrs. Gibbons give us a little background on what the family worker does.
The family worker really is a liaison between the school and the community. We have a lot of efforts to get the parents involved in the education of their children. So they work with the school psychologist, the social worker, the lunch office, everything you can imagine. They translate documents to get sent home to the families. We have 2 of those positions right now for all of our schools. And we are actually contracting on a lot of translations. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that in and provide even more services to meet the regulations. We have to send home just about everything we can in the different languages. Right now we're limited to Spanish only. And we are hoping to be able to expand that. But the supports at the high school have grown tremendously with the population. We want our students to graduate, to stay in school, and they'll be working with the families for that. And middle school and elementary needs are the same as well. Keeping our students in school, getting them the education, providing the parents how you can help your children at home with their work. It's a pretty large scope of what they do.
Absolutely, and thank you, I do realize that. So are we adding a family worker and an ENL teacher liaison?
Yeah, the teacher liaison is very different. What they'll be doing is with all the new regulations, they'll be going to the trainings, coming back. It's just a small stipended position. They'll be coming back, turnkeying all the trainings to all of the ESL teachers, so everyone is on top of what has to happen, making program recommendations, just facilitating, moving ahead with providing the services that we need for our students.
Okay, so it's one training. Thank you. I have one more, Dr. Koblenz wants to go ahead. Okay, I think it's a quick one. Regarding the athletic trainer, once again, much needed. I know that the one that we have now part-time is also, as you mentioned, through Kingston Physical Therapy. Was that partially funded by the Bruderhof, I believe? So that's just is now going to be a Kingston City Schools position?
Correct. Last year it was 50% funded by the district, 50% by the group. So this would just be, this person would be a Kingston City School District employee, yes. Full.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Can you talk a little bit about the kindergarten academy and how much it will cost?
Yeah, we don't expect the kindergarten academy to be, overwhelmingly expensive. Again, a lot of it's going to depend on how many kids we can get to go. So we're not thinking it's going to be something that's, a budget breaker. I think it will depend on how many students we can get and how many faculty and staff we can get to participate.
But what is it? Is it 1 day? Is it 1 week? Is it every morning?
Well, we're really gonna work together with Ms. Hannum and, and Dr. Perez to see what are the things that they really would like to have. I mean, we're estimating, we're thinking, is that gonna cost us $10,000? I mean, and so that's gonna cost us that kind of money. Can we, maybe it's gonna cost a little more, maybe it's gonna cost a less, but we think that's our range. We don't have the details, it just kind of came up a week ago, but we thought this is something we can find a way to put some money in there and then work for it.
Any other questions? Mr. Shaw?
So in terms of additional personnel, on the first slide where you have personnel, that was the one that included the athletic trainer. So the two special ed faculty members, the additional school psychologist, the middle school social worker, the speech language pathologist, special ed teacher at JWG, and an athletic trainer. So the athletic trainer, is that a KTF position?
It is a KTF position. They're under the same, certification requirements in New York State, say a physical therapist or an occupational therapist.
Okay, so that's seven KTF positions on the page, is that right?
I believe you're right, yeah.
And then on the next page, there are 3 elementary teachers and 2 middle school teachers and a music teacher. That's 6 KTF?
Yes, all
positions.
KTF.
So that's 13. And then on the page with the bilingual family worker, is that a social worker or is that a KTF position?
The bilingual family worker is an ESP position.
And what about the lead teacher position? Is that going to be?
That is a stipend, that's a stipended position for an already employed teacher.
So that's not a new person?
No,
But the family worker is?
correct.
And then, so that's, so that's 6 ESP positions on that page, is that right?
2 hall monitors, clerical
2 hall-
support, right, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The clerical
5.
position at the high school, 2 hall monitors and a clerical support and a nurse at the middle school. And now, what about the technology? Exactly how is that working?
That's a service that we contract through BOCES. Right now, we do it at the high school level as well with the model schools program. And where our proposal is to include that in our BOCES service request for next year for our elementary teachers. And what we have is, like this year, we have 2 model school coaches who come into the secondary and work with our teachers on implementing, really using technology to deliver the curriculum.
So that personnel is supplied by BOCES?
Correct.
Dr. Costa?
That personnel, the coach will come to the school where
They come to us, they go right into the classroom, they're embedded. It's an embedded coaching model, very similar to what we do with our coaches.
The speech and language pathologist that we're adding,
Yes.
I remember that earlier this year, we added another part-time consultant. Is this in addition
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have the need for a whole other full person, and you said this would be an early childhood person, so K2?
We have a real need for pushing speech down and really getting into, I think for us to completely do what we would like to do, which is really do more of a speech improvement program instead of having students labeled with disabilities as far as speeches are concerned, and having IEPs. In order to do that, we probably would need 6 or 7 speech teachers, but we want to work towards that model. This will help us work towards that model without without our already overburdened speech staff. So that's the idea, is to push that down. But also, we do have to make sure that we meet the mandates in the IEPs for all the students who have speech. So we want to make sure we're doing that. So this is kind of one of those balls that's going to kind of be able to juggle up in the air as we go through it, and when we go through the fall or the spring and the summer with our CSE meetings, we may have to change that one way or the other. But I think the additional, what we have right now, we know we will need additional staff to meet IEP needs and to do anything differently at the lower level.
So can we talk about that a little bit? Speech improvement, how's that different from what we do?
Well, speech improvement, I guess I would compare it to compare it to RTI. It's what we would do before we label students. It's being able to provide the services prior to that identifying a student as a special education student. And really getting it to all students. Because really, K through 2, a significant number of students, regardless of whether they have a disability, may have some speech issues that need to be worked on. It's one thing we work on just in regular education anyway. So to push that in is something we really want to work towards. Because once we get them in with speech, when it goes through and it continues to open, it's a cycle. And it never comes off. And we have overburdened speech teachers, so we can't provide the smaller, the early intervention, and we don't provide the early intervention, so we overburden our speech teachers. And then we ask for more speech teachers for our overburdened speech teachers. So we're trying to, stem that kind of cycle.
But it's not about early childhood.
It's got budget.
It is. Oh, why are we replacing the sidewalk in front of Miller? We just did it.
Mr. Olson, would you like to answer that?
Well, actually, we didn't replace the sidewalk in front of Miller. We replaced the sidewalk on the north side of Miller, where the traffic, where the parents drop, where parents drop students off, where the kind of what they consider kind of their main, well, it's not their main entrance, but it's the entrance with the security. So the front is where the bus circle is, and that sidewalk was not done, and that's the sidewalk that we're talking about. So
Okay, so it's not a redo.
no, it's not
part of the sidewalk.
It is not a redo.
So that's on the east side of where the,
On the east side, exactly, yes.
So can you talk a little bit more about the special education faculty members for the CSE meetings? Are those people kind of dedicated to be in the CSE meetings so that, I know.
Yeah, we already have this. We're already doing this. With the outing here, who's this teacher on special assignment who does CSE meetings. This is kind of the model we were looking to go to. I think there are a couple more people who could do CSE meetings, so it would kind of the model we've been looking at administratively for the last couple of years, freeing up the people who are supposed to be really working on the curriculum, helping teachers, getting into classrooms, doing the evaluations, doing the things that are productive towards improving instruction, rather than sitting in one of the more than 3,000 CSE meetings we do every year. Now, there are some meetings that they have to be in, but many of the meetings can be handled through with the CSE chair instead of having one of our directors or assistant directors in there. So our goal really is to help improve the actual program delivery for our students instead of just having people running meetings.
So these people will now act as instructional coaches, kind of?
No, these people will be the ones running the meetings.
No, I'm sorry, the people that these people are relieving are, so.
These people are going to be able to spend more time, working with the special education teachers, holding the special ed meetings that need to be held, working with data meetings with special education teachers that we're not able to do right now because of where we're structured. So they're going to have a variety of different administrative things that they have to do. And I think this is kind of like the speech thing, where if we don't make a little investment here, we're just gonna continue to have 3,000 special education meetings, CSE meetings every year. If we don't improve the program and, move students, in a positive direction towards meeting their goals, we're just gonna continue to have this 25% classification rate where we're doing 3,000, IEP meetings every year. This is kind of our attempt to, again, this is another one of those things to kind of spend that time.
To piggyback on Dr. Chikowitz's question, the teachers who will be assigned to run the CSE meetings, are they going to be utilized in any other manner if reviews are not being held?
Well, I think, and actually you probably know this as well as anyone, there's, running 3,000 meetings in a 220-day work year is a lot of meetings every day. And there's a lot of paperwork that goes on along with meetings, as well as other conversations with parents, and those kind of things that happen. So most of their time will be dedicated to running the community and special education.
I want to stop at 5.5%. I mean, that's nice, certainly more than what we originally thought. But my understanding was that there was some outcome from the small city schools work, and I'm just wondering how that factors into what we're seeing here.
There was some outcome from the small city schools work. I mean, there was a very broad statement made of 9%. It was probably what you read. But like everything, yeah, we all did. But like everything else, there's a formula. Then they put in things like combined wealth ratio of the districts and those kind of things that brought it either up or down. So we ended up, as far as small city school districts, if you look at the demographics of small city school districts, we really ended up as kind of a little wealthier than the average small city school district. Our combined wealth ratio is a little bit higher than the average small city school district. Those kind of things. So we didn't, our parts of that calculation didn't bring us to that 90%.
And so how much of this 5.5 is actually extra small cities schools?
Well, it's not, and none of it's extra. I mean, it was what was included kind of in how, it's all part of the whole thing. And if I told you I knew how they did it, I'd be lying, because I don't really know, but it was all kind of put together.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
I have a question about that. So how do I think the aid run that shows a 6.9% increase.
The aid run shows a overall including building is 5.9.
The whole month, I'm not sure if I know if they do this also. Would you talk a little bit?
Sure,
And are they on duty all day?
It would be full day. I mean, if you think about what goes out, I mean, Kingston High School, just give you an example, Kingston High School has, a team of hall monitors that work, a team of security guards who work, 97 cameras, 6 administrators, they have just under 2,000 students. We have places like Bailey who have 1,000 students and they have a principal, assistant principal, and SRO. So, it's just another set of eyes and ears in the hallway to help our administration as far as, making sure kids are safe, making sure kids are getting where they need to go, and making sure that the campus is safe as well.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
I've had a couple parents call me in the last 2 weeks about Bailey. They say there's overcrowding. There are frequent fights in the cafeteria, and they don't feel that there's enough support staff there. And I'm not sure exactly what they mean. How many social workers do we have in the middle schools as opposed to, compared to the high schools?
I don't know off the top of my head exactly, but I think that's one of the things that we were looking at when we were focusing on what we wanted to do with the middle schools. You see, I mean, the proposal is middle school heavy in what we're looking to put in. I think that, Bailey, again, there's almost 1,000 students there. So I think a little extra support there is what we're looking for, both in the social work as far as looking at attendance. I mean, these are things that came directly from Ms. Burby and Clinton of things that they were, and Ms. Bonville, things that they were interested in that they thought would help them create that better atmosphere, create that better, that more safety and more order in the hallways and the cafeteria.
Because when we look at the beta reports, the discipline problems are much more intense at the middle school level than they are at either the elementary level or the high school level. Is that correct?
I think the frequency of, the number of, the Veda report is a deceiving report in my opinion, and for many reasons, but the number of infractions that you see in the Veda report at the middle school level are higher. And again, the state has the school violence index that really they weigh each of the reports based on the violation, and there's a threshold where if your school violence index is above X, you become a potentially dangerous school, or a persistently dangerous school, I should say. And neither, although there are frequent beta entrances entrances in the middle school beta report, none of those reach the school violence index threshold that would make them a persistently violent. So actually, at Bailey and Miller both went down. The school violence index went down in 15-16, or no, 14-15. So we don't have 15-16 down.
Well, the parents, they feel that there needs to be more support at the at Bailey, in the support staff, the student services, not the classroom teachers, but the guidance and the social worker staff to handle bullying and they perceive these fights and things like that, and overcrowding in the hallways.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what we're trying to accomplish with some of the positions that we've proposed, as well as looking at. I think I agree with Mr. Shaughnessy says about the number of instances. And again, I think one of the things that when you look at a high school, you have your freshman and your sophomore really are your students that you spend a lot of time managing. Your juniors and your seniors, they've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, they know what they need to do to graduate, and they're kind of focused in that area. But at the middle school, you've got 4 grades. You've got 4 grades of kids that you're really managing all day. Seniors pretty much manage themselves. So it's middle school is a challenging situation anywhere, but that's not an excuse that we shouldn't look to put things in place we need to put in place to improve.
Mr. Michael?
I was very glad to see the gap elimination restoration back in our package, the money, the 770,000. But it just means the state budget negotiation for the Social Security. Is this going to be a permanent restoration or just for the year?
Well, it's just for the year because it's all gone now. I mean, that's what they've taken all that away for us. Now they're slowly giving it back, and now it's completely repaid as far as they're concerned. And we have our gap elimination adjustment. There's no more gap to be eliminated, so there shouldn't be any more gap elimination adjustments in school district aid runs. So we're hoping that we're hoping there's no more gap to for school districts to try to eliminate.
A clarification on. They didn't repay us, did they? They just brought us back to where we were in 2009.
Right, they didn't.
So it's not that they gave us the money that they held back from us for those 6 or 7 years.
They're eliminating what they took away, what they're taking away, but they still owe us, like, what, almost $30 million.
Kingston's
right?
what, $35 million?
Yeah.
That we lost through that, and we're not
We're not gonna
getting
see that.
that back.
It's a decrease of a decrease disguised as an increase.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It's nice that no longer will exist as a bubble line, but they are, to say it was restored.
Just not taking. Yeah.
We'll never see the money that we didn't receive, but they're just not taking away more. It's basically.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So, I appreciate that there's a lot of focus on support and support services, social workers, speech language pathologists, special education teachers, psychologists. We've talked a lot at the diversity project meeting, we just talked about this, we talked a lot about social emotional growth and development and how important that is, and we spent a lot of energy implementing the PBIS, and we talked about restorative justice, and I just hope that as we bring on these support people and as we bring on home monitors, we are very thoughtful and deliberate about how we train people and how we talk about how we want our children to be treated and how we are expecting to kind of develop our kids and help them grow emotionally, especially in those years in middle school. So those are tough years, and so we need all that extra support. You know, we don't need home monitors that are going to be making sure everyone's 50 and like that. I mean, you have to get class, but we need a little compassion also.
Mrs.
I
Collins?
don't know if this is the appropriate juncture, but I do want to piggyback on that, speaking in terms of policy, and especially the restorative justice piece. It might have been in a draft one, because I'm looking at my notes, but now I'm looking now, where I noticed that it looked like our actual expenses, this was just, I think it was notated as out-of-school suspension, and it was $5,760 in 2014 to 15, and then it looks different now, but it was up to 26,000. You know, allotted for that, and I'm looking at this latest budget that we have tonight, and it says, you know, there's quite an increase in home, hospital, suspension, instruction. I think that's two parts. One is the restorative justice piece, you know, which I think we're trying to work on, but also I think it says a lot, Mr. Schwansko says it's too just about our need to support students in terms of their mental health. It seems that we have more people going to hospital instruction or more people being suspended. Not only does that affect us financially, it affects us in so many ways. So I'm glad to see the extra support there because it's obviously necessary. But those figures are kind of astonishing for out-of-school suspension to me. You know, where those costs, how much it costs.
And I think some of that is night school support as well, which is part of that.
I mean, it costs at so many levels, financially, emotionally, and we know that, and I think if anything, that needs to spur us to move forward with that piece.
And I think much of what we're proposing, again, you know, looking at social workers, psychologists, looking at the bilingual family worker, it sounds like it's not social work, but it is. It's that family connection that we're looking to make. And even when we're looking at our CSE chairs and how we can more effectively reach all of our students in the classroom is a piece of that as well. I mean, you know, we can have as many programs in the world as we want, but if we're not engaging in the classroom, you know, we're going to have those issues. So I think we have an eye towards that, and I think we've many discussions between policy, the diversity cadre, and our Tenet 5 group. I mean, this is what we're talking about, you know, right now. This is going to our focus has been, you know, let's rework our code of conduct. Let's get our restorative justice program together. Let's get our people trained on how, you know, and introduced to how we think we should be working with our students, whether it be, you know, a restorative justice instead of a progressive discipline model, you know, or just the day-to-day interactions that are expected. Those are things that we are working on, and I think one of the things that has come out of diversity academy as well is really looking at what are those adult trainings that we need to provide, and how can you know, we as the administration can control the calendar and the professional development calendar to make sure that happens. And that's not so much about dollars as it is about culture.
That's the thing, it's a cost, it's relative time.
Which remind me, in the net changes here, the net budget change, in addition to everything else you already mentioned, there's also an increase in security. And I know that this is something that was brought by parents who last got the conversation. They were concerned about uniformity of training in terms of security, and they were including the hall monitors in that as well, and lunchroom monitors. So I want to know if the administration is considering those personnel as actually enhancing the security, and if there's something planned for uniform training.
And I think that is part of the new thought process here, is the totally inclusive training where it's everyone. And we kind of lean on it's a little bit towards that. If you look at how we work with the Peaceful School Bus program, where it's everyone is involved in that culture, the PBIS program really is about everyone being involved in that culture, regardless of who the person is they work with that sees the student. And I think that is really that's our conversation about professional development moving forward, not being, oh, which unit doesn't come that day. You know, it's about everyone has to be there, and we have to have something, you know, that they can use in their day-to-day work, and really is under that overarching theme that we have I think the idea of having that full day, very early in the school year of professional development people to introduce this kind of thing, and then our, I always call them booster shots throughout the year, which we've kind of been doing that with PBI, we've been doing that with our PBIS program this year. I think that's a good model to follow moving forward. I'm really, putting a lot of weight, I guess, on the idea of the change in the code of conduct and the idea of going to a restorative justice model as a real lever to change culture. We'll roll that out before the end of this school year. We'll put it in front of the board for a policy, the policy committee and the board for a new policy. I think that speaks to how we want, that's the document that says this is how we work with students. So I think that's that's the lever I'm kind of using, but I think that it goes obviously much deeper than that, and much broader than that as well.
So just to follow up a little bit on that, I, as you know, completely support a restorative justice process, but in my mind, that's a little bit after. That's something that comes, when there's been an infraction and we have to deal with it. We also need something that comes before that. And I think that's what you're speaking to about being broader and deeper. What comes before that, so that we don't get to this place where we're having these suspensions and having these infractions. And it's funny, Mrs. Chair, that you say that about the hall monitor, because I just emailed Dr. Catalina about that today, about having school, lunch monitors, secretaries, secretarial staff. Everyone who has contact with students should really be on the same page and speak the same language about how we want our children to be treated and supported in their emotional development.
I'm going to be explaining first about security. Is this going to include enhancement in terms of technology, extra cameras at the middle school as well? We have so many at the high school and very few at the middle school.
Yeah, the extra cameras in the middle school are actually something that are not necessarily part of this budget. They are part of our Smart Schools initiative, and they are part of our E-rate that we put in for this year. So there'll be more coming. We have, how many cameras have we put in the middle school, Mr. Alston, West?
I know we put in a number in each middle school this year, back in the summer, and I know that, we need to plan for more.
And just recently I know I was there when they were
We
doing
put
another
I
in
think we put
Miller.
4 in Miller and in Bailey.
Right, so we,
Key intersections that the principal selected.
right. And I think that's that's one piece, that's the security piece. I think the other piece is, continue to invest in what we talked about, and I think, with our new Director of Prevention and Security, looking really in our conversations, we're talking a lot about prevention, and we're still talking about security, but we're talking about prevention a lot more, Mr. Parker and I are. So that's I think just shifting that culture a little bit between being reactive to being proactive.
On page 2, the line item for interfund transfer for the school lunch fund for $50,000. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Sure, that's there's a rent, for lack of a better word, that the school lunch fund reimburses back to the district for the water. And in some ways, in a lot of ways, our school lunch program is a business operating within our school district. And so there's a formula that's used that pays back to the school district budget for heat, light, water, those kind of things.
Okay, so we're fronting this money.
Right, yes.
I'm sorry. What, this
The
one?
fronting.
We're fronting that money. And it's really a testament to how well Mr. Corelli is running that program, because in most other districts, that's the other way around. The district budget is really funding the lunch program to keep it solvent. Where here, the way his team is operating that program, his leadership is made it so they can pay that rent.
Well, actually, until a few years ago, we had an outlay to them every year of $150,000, so this is a big net change.
Yeah. Probably one of the districts that is actually always in the black.
I think we're
Well,
probably the
some
only
others
one in Ulster
districts
County
in the red.
that is in the black.
Okay, so on page 9, it says personnel services, Director of Buildings and Grounds. Did we we're adding somebody for town clapper. This is not included in that? Did you include another, we didn't hire somebody yet,
No, we have not hired someone.
so this is his salary, it's not a new person.
But I'm gonna actually appeal to Mrs. Woodard and Mr. Olson, because they're looking at me like,
That,
they answer.
that includes the stipend for
It's
the
the cost.
overseeing of the project.
It's the
Right.
colors.
The
Right.
position-
That is that
Yeah.
The
position.
position of, that
That's
we
the
were gonna add
Right.
is underneath is in a different code, is under skilled, head skilled mechanic, correct?
59.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the next group, the other.
58 now. So then, page 18, I have something. Are we doing this, the contractual NYCMCO and first aid training? Is this happening?
Oh, yes,
It is, it's mandatory, right?
Yeah. actually the mats are over there that we would need to.
On page 26, the P-TEC, it jumped like double, more than double. What happened with that?
Oh, yeah, it's a new cohort. Yeah, I mean, now we'll have 23 classes worth, yeah. So we'll have, I mean, Kingston students, well, we will have 20 students in it, 30 students in every Kingston. They're coming in next year.
36
Okay,
for
this year we
budget.
had 16.
Right, so we pretty much covered.
That line item also includes some for instructional, another coaster as well, but that includes 36 student FTEs for P-TEC.
Okay.
There was about a dozen in each cohort.
Right.
And then on page 30, the Asperger's syndrome program is no longer.
No, they both just changed all their codes, so
Okay,
you kind of have to cross-reference them, it's very confusing. If you look on.
it's now 203.
Now 203, which is under 2251 on page 28. So between those two areas, BOCES kind of changed their poster numbers, and so there's been adjustments in those areas.
Just reading through, okay. Go ahead and I'll figure out some more.
Some page 28, the other one.
Yeah,
I was gonna go back to the skilled mechanic. Do you have any prospects yet? Have you interviewed anybody?
We have not yet.
On page 12, we have $15,000 for Mid-Hudson Studies Council and small cities. What's our involvement with Mid-Hudson Studies Council? I mean, they used to give that great financial summary. I haven't seen one of those.
Oh, they still
Do they still do that?
That's right. Yeah, they still do that. They still, I mean,
I haven't seen that.
did it used to come directly out the board member?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how I got it, but we used to get it, right?
Yeah, those are,
Can
Those
we
are-
get those?
Yeah, as long as I get them, I can.
yeah, I think we get them in disc now.
Oh, that may be why I haven't seen them.
So those are our memberships to
Right.
both of those
Right.
organizations. I think the lion's share of that is small cities.
Is it, okay, no, I know we're members of small cities, and I just didn't know what we were getting from the Hudson, because I haven't seen that. Okay, I mean, I think that's all. And on page 26, because I want to stay down, this is loud, I don't care. We have management services for New York State testing, $97,000, and then regional test scoring, $148,000. What is this management service?
Can I turn that over to Mr. Olson as well?
I know there are line items in the BOCES COSER service request. For those two COSERs, there's pages and pages and pages of different test scoring and services that we get. It's specifically, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to know more about that, that'd be great. And then the regional test scoring, I mean, I know that we used to have release time for teachers, and teachers used to go score the test, that doesn't happen anymore,
No.
correct? So Is this us sending the state test out to some regional entity that's for it? And that happens through BOCES?
Yes.
Okay, and then I also have a few tech questions, but.
So I'm assuming that on page 32, the BOCES Alternative Education Program says 0 also. Has that been moved? Or we
No,
don't
that
have
no longer exists.
So are we doing, is it existing this year?
No. That program was disbanded at the end of last year.
Okay, so that 356.
Right.
Okay. Page 35, the BOCES IPA for computer equipment. Page 35, it's gone up 200,000. $2630.49.
Oh, right, that's, okay, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, that's, that's our, we're renewing a lot of equipment, especially with the project coming up, there's actually even more demands. Plus, we're gonna be doing some copier change-outs this year that are going to be folded into that same line.
Are they leased or we?
Now, these are purchased, and the IPA is basically a financing arrangement.
IPA stands for installment
Purchase
purchase
agreement.
agreement.
Alright. Then my other question is on page 46, what vehicle are we purchasing? For $125,000.
The $125,000 is not, we don't know yet. As you can imagine, the facilities department owns about, well, we own, facilities department uses about 20-odd vehicles, and they range in age from new to not nearly new. So every year, basically, we need to replace one or two to kind of that are ones that are outlive their usefulness. So we'll be sort of deciding on that specifically later, but that's to take care of 2 or 3 vehicles that are in that fleet.
I know last year we replaced the lunch.
The lunch, yeah, right,
Yeah.
the lunch vans fall into that category. Our cars that we have at schools that we've talked about, they are kind of getting down the road a little bit.
Not like they used to be.
Not like the Taurus that you have.
Thank you.
Ms. Collins?
Just a quick one, I hope on page 15, I see that we're going to be contracting with, coordinating with BOCES for a grant writer,
Yes.
$9,800, so hopefully maybe any ideas, maybe working for the pre-K things, or just,
One of the big things that we really want to have this grant writer work with is with our Title I consolidated grant, which is a huge undertaking that we have, I think we need a little extra help with that, so she's gonna come in and help us with that in the teaching and learning department. In the past, it's been like August, 4 people in a room trying to do everything we can to get it done. So that's one of the many things that we're going to have her working on with us, the Title I, and all our title grants, Title I, Title II.
okay, just someone that we've worked with before?
Oh, yes,
staff has
yeah,
a
it's Bonnie
relationship
Meadows,
with?
it's who we worked with.
Okay.
Through BOCES?
Yeah.
How long do we have to get our smart one?
As long as we want. Doesn't go well. It's not like Excel where there was a timeout, there's no.
Mr. Shenson?
So I'd like to talk about a couple of things going forward that are more, I think the budget time seems to be the only time to talk about it. Curricular enhancements that I don't particularly see. They won't happen next year, but longer range. Well, one of them is the pre-K program. So I mean, I think, now is the appropriate time, I think, to talk about that in the next month. What are our financial requirements for that going to be? And we've been talking about that a lot, and I don't want that to drop off the table. It seems that, the governor has, and not only Governor Cuomo, but governors before him, they've learned how to use the budget to put a lot of their pet projects in. And, I mean, that's when we start talking about new things, when we talk about budget. And so, other than the pre-K, a couple of things that I would like, a couple of curriculum enhancements that I would like to see in the future. One of them is elementary second language education. When I came on the board, when I first came on the board, we talked about that, and there was actually a pilot program, and it fell away. But young children are really more adept at picking up a language than older children or adults. And so that's a skill that I think enhances learning opportunities for a lifetime. And we already have two language track. I mean, students who come in not speaking English as their primary language, they get second language instruction, but children who just speak English, they don't get second language instruction. And I think actually the way that the demographics of our country is going, if you want to live in New York City, you almost have to speak Spanish in order to be able to get by on a day-to-day basis. So I would like to bring that back to the table and say that's a longer range goal. Another longer range goal I would like to see computer coding introduced at all grade levels. I think it's really important. Our economy is moving that way. We're going to have needs. There's going to be a severe shortage of computer programmers in 10 years or 20 years. Millions of jobs, a shortage of 1 million jobs or more, every year going out. And also, that's another thing that introducing it in the elementary schools, in the elementary grades, it enhances the way that a person thinks about things. You learn to think about how to solve a problem. You learn how to analyze what you need to do. You learn to plan step by step how you're going to reach that goal. And a lot of them are, in the early elementary schools. I think I showed you a couple of years ago this Hour of Code. I mean, they're really fun games that children can learn how to, they think they're playing a game, but really they're learning. They have to plan each step of the way. They have a goal. They have a starting point. They have a goal, and they have maybe the first time they go through, they have maybe 3 or 4 steps that they have to figure out. The next time through, it may be 6. The next time, it may be 8. It keeps increasing in complexity, and it really teaches them how to think in a different way. And I think that we should be developing a plan to introduce that in the future in our schools. And as I look at, high school courses, I dare say that not very many people, even who are engineers, use calculus anymore. You have to learn how to program a computer, but you really don't have to know how to calculate, how to carry out a calculus problem anymore, because you can pull your phone out of your back pocket and you have Many times the computing power that we send people to the moon with. But learning how to, learning how to use that tool is very important. So I would like to see us start planning for that in the future.
Mrs. Lau?
Just a question, elementary schools, what grades use agenda planners, agenda books? Do you know?
I don't.
3 and 4.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Third and fourth?
All 4 and many.
Seems a little high, that's what, on page 25 for elementary agenda books. Compared to what the middle school's agenda books cost.
This might be coming out of that.
Oh,
Oh, 56.
okay, okay, so, yeah, it adds a big, okay, that makes sense, thank you.
Anyone else?
If I could just to kind of stay on Mr. Shaughnessy, one of Mr. Shaughnessy's points, the pre-K, I think I agree with Mr. Shaughnessy, we don't want to let that drop. And we do have, our consultants are still working, the survey date sent out to parents is closed, I think a week ago Friday. We're expecting some more information from back this week. I'm hoping to have at least a partial partial report or information to the board on the 20th, and then more, before the end of this school year. So we are, we're committed to find out what we need to do to, serve the what we think are probably 250 or so 4-year-olds who aren't participating in our pre-K programs currently. So that's, I'm looking forward to reporting that to the board so we can do exactly what Mr. Shaughnessy said, which is start some planning to really enhance that program.
Hearing no questions from my colleagues, I'd like to offer an opportunity for a second public participation session, since we did not really have people from the public present when we convened the meeting. So if there's anyone who would like to address the board now, I will remind you that you should speak directly into the microphone. You're limited to 2 minutes. Mr. Perna will let you know when you're approaching the 2 minutes. It's not a conversation. If you have not finished your statement, you have something in print that you'd like to leave with the board clerk today, it'll be disseminated to the trustees. So, is there anyone who'd like to address the board at this point? Please come to the mic.
My name's Eddie Parker. I think, we'll do it quick, I know it's only 2 minutes. I was born and raised in Kingston, played football at Kingston High School. When I was luckily fortunate to play Division I football, played a little pro football, came back in the community, been coaching, been involved a lot of the community, and I think I speak for everyone here who has children in this community. We're just, I know it's not a question and answer forum, but we're just curious with the program, the football program. We have a lot of student athletes young all the way up to the high school level that are very, I won't say discouraged, but just curious of when possibly we're going to get a head football coach for our program. For the simple fact that there are a lot of great young men that are student athletes that, and I think this community has had a reputation of having a very powerful, not just a powerful football program, but it teaches a lot of life lessons to young kids and youths. So we're just kind of curious, the community's getting a little anxious on when we're going to have a coach named, so we could, that's okay. Just to get it named, basically, so a lot of us that are involved with the community could get these young men going in the right direction as far as working with the athletics.
If you, with your permission, I will respond to that. And we don't usually go to I appreciate your concern and your comments. The final interviews are taking place this week. This week next Friday and Tuesday of the candidates who were passed on to me by the athletic director. I'll have a recommendation to the Board of Education for the April 20th board meeting. I know, I'm aware of the social media buzz and of the impatience, and I think that my message to the impatient people are, I have an elementary principal position that's empty. I have an assistant superintendent principal position that's empty. I have a middle school principal position that's empty, an athletic director, 18 teachers. So, things take time. Our priority here and our number one mission, and I like football probably more than most superintendents, our number one mission is education. So I need to make sure that those positions are filled as well. So I apologize if people are getting impatient, but it will happen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else who would like to approach tonight?
Good evening, Board. My name is Monique Tinsley. I am a mother of a child, which I brought here tonight on the football team. I understand what you just said, Superintendent, but I just would like to add that we are discouraged, but we understand that it's a process. But in the process, we as parents do support and fully. I know for myself and some of the members that may know me that education is important to me also. So I do understand that there's other positions that require your attention too. In doing so, with the boys not having a coach right now, there was workout sessions set to begin at the YMCA. Some of the players did not have a membership to the YMCA. So in order for them to work out, their parents had to purchase a membership for them in order to be a part of the workout sessions. Since there hasn't been a coach hired, they were just piggybacking off of the baseball team's workouts. Now they were told that until a coach is hired, workouts will be put on pause. So that is very frustrating to the parents who dished out of their money, whatever the amount they had paid, that there is no workout sessions. I do see a number of the boys working out by themselves, which I do take very precaution, and I am like the mother to them, like, don't do so much, you're doing too much weightlifting. So I feel like if there was some supervision, that they would be able to tell them, you're putting too much weight, boys will be boys, so it's a competition. I'm concerned with boys getting hurt before the season starts. And if we do not get a coach appointed to, someone said June, sessions start in August. There are other varsity players that know how sessions work, but what about the players that are up underneath them that do not know about the workouts, how the workouts start? 2 hours, you're going to be up 4 hours at the stadium. So I just ask if you can keep that in mind and get a coach that cares about the whole team as a whole and bring back the sports the way it used to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Tinsley. Anyone else?
My name's Tasika Doroslia. I'm another football mom, I apologize. And I have a son who's in college now who played and graduated in 2013. And my youngest son last year was his first year on JV. A couple of the things you talked about tonight were getting an athletic trainer because you're concerned about concussions. And I would just point out that the reason that conditioning throughout the year and starting so early is extremely important for these football players is because they need to build the muscle and keep themselves safe so that they are not getting injured. My son is pretty small right now, and it's really important to him. He went to every baseball workout. He did this all year last year from January to keep from getting injured. So it's twofold. It's important that we get these kids so that they're properly conditioned, so that they're not getting injured. Forget about in the weight room, but in the season, in these games. Additionally, I can't speak for everybody else, but when it comes to academics, my son is driven by the athletics. He strives to make sure his academics are where they need to be and improved, because sports is that important to him. And for most of the student athletes, I know that goes along the same lines. It keeps the kids, when they're working out for sports and when they're prepping for their sports, from smoking, from experimenting with drugs, from getting caught up in other things. So it's much bigger than just the game of football. That's the part of it that the kids love. But from a parental standpoint, it encompasses a lot more for our kids. So I just ask you to please consider that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, hearing no.
I want to see, I just wanted to let other people first. This way.
My name is Diana Custer, and I'm a mom of a 4th grader, an 8th grader, 10th and 11th grade daughters, and also a senior at college who play football. I'm actually not here as an athletic mom, but I am here concerned about those young people who may have qualified in the past because of special educational needs. It looks like our numbers from last week's meeting seem to be going down in percentages, and I heard the superintendent say we're actually 10% higher than the state. But it looks like our numbers are still going up significantly for special education, and I wonder if kids are being less classified or there's less people, why the numbers are going up so much. If it's, you know, I know we can't really talk about salaries or medical benefits and things like that, but I also wanted to bring to people's attention, I was really impressed. I don't know what happened. I know for a couple of years we were really focusing on how we kept getting hit hard with the New York State Teachers Retirement System, and it looks like it's going down $1.25 million. So I don't know how that happened, but to me, I felt like, ooh, maybe things are a little bit better in some ways. Is it just the stocks and bonds, and is it the markets getting better, and the more schools invest in P-TECH and things like that, things are going to get better. So I did see that $300,000 or more is going to support the P-TECH program, and I know that some of those kids that would have been in that alternative ed BOCES program would be impacted, but I am still very concerned about those kids that are getting suspended and are in out-of-school suspension instead of in-school suspension. I do believe that football, wrestling, baseball, lacrosse, all the sports for both young men and young women, we're going to have a beautiful state-of-the-art facility at the high school, and I really hope that I really hope that that facility is not only going to be for students that are interscholastic athletes, but also for every student to actively be engaged in physical education, because when they're exercising, then they're going to be learning even better.
Thank you, Mrs. Custer.
But please consider adding money for in-school suspension.
My name is Patrick Burke, again along with Ben Parker, same lines. They touched on pretty much everything, but the athletic trainer, she's wonderful. That's a must in our community, sports-wise. I know it's been brought up, but that needs to happen. There was one there when I played here at Kingston, and it's just an absolute must for our athletes.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Anyone else? Mrs. Warren.
Hi, I'm Kathy Warner, and I'm an instructional coach in the district. And I would just like to say thank you for this budget and the commitment you're continuing to make to early intervention, because that's how we're going to get our special ed numbers down. And I really appreciate all the effort that's been put in by the teaching and learning team. And I don't want to blow our own horn, but the coaches too. We work hard. And we've really tried to make an impact in those early years, especially the K-2, the primary, and giving us as much help as we can possibly get during that time to prevent failure, I think, has been really important in the district, and I want to thank you for supporting that.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. Anyone else?
Yes, good evening. My name is John Perry. I'm here in reference to a student athlete as well as a coach. The the understanding that you're needing to hire, I understand. At this point in time, a head coach also dictates 8 other positions, so that's 9 coaches total. That being said, transparency is one of the most key things that needs to be done. We waited 5 months since we got a letter from Coach Collins in reference to resigning. So we've now sat for 5 months plus sitting on this. The basis of what's going on in the community is gossip. Things are going out there that we do not need. We're losing kids. They're going to private schools. We've lost our starting quarterback, starting receiver. And I know this is the most important thing, but what it is we've had most numbers we've had in maybe 3 years on this program last year. The kids, they don't even know if there's going to be a program based on gossip, based on non-transparency from the board, superintendent, whoever it is. This needs to be taken care of. It needs to be taken care of in a timely manner. Thank you.
I'd like to answer that as well. I'm curious to what the non-transparency is. We posted a position, it was interviewed by the athletic director, I got the information, and I'm conducting the interviews. There's no non-transparency here. If anything, we have 21 varsity sports in Kingston City School District. We have 1,000 students who participate. Not once in 4 years I've been the superintendent has any of those been cut. Nothing in the budget for athletics has been cut. So rumors, or if you want on social media, they can do that if they would like.
Correct.
But actually, as an adult and as a coach, you should be one of the people saying, relax. We're going to have a coach. We're not going to
see that.
We're not going. I don't go on social media for this stuff.
What's going on is that there is no communication. There's no transparency. There's nothing that's been put out there stated that, for example, what you just stated. No one's known in the community that you're going to finish up your recruiting this week. You're going to finalize some. No one knew that until Mr. Parker brought that to the attention. No one knew that. So as far as we knew, there is 4 coaches that are applying for the
We
jobs.
post positions publicly,
I understand
and we
that.
go through the interview process.
I understand.
And that's what we're doing.
I understand. Took Monroe Woodbury 2.5 months to figure it out. Why is it taking Kingston 5.5 months? Almost 6 now.
Once again, I could go through the list of other things that we do here, but we will get to it. Football starts in August. We will have a coach on.
There's more than
we will have a coach. We will have a coach on April 20th when I'm finished with the interviews, and that is that.
Now that's transparency. And now I hope to stick to it, and I hope that that's the truth.
If people didn't want to just have rumors and maybe ask me instead of going.
That's what we're going to see.
Those are the answers.
That's what we're going to see.
Those are the answers that we're going to see.
Unfortunately, we had to come here in order to receive that.
No, you didn't.
Okay. Did you put it out to the community?
I'm not going to argue with you.
Well, then you are arguing with me, actually. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay.
Did you want it?
Thank you so much.